This lesson is going to be looking at writing equations in standard form. So far we have talked about two different kinds of forms of equations. We've talked about slope-intercept form and point-slope form, which you see on the screen. The new type that we're looking at today is standard form. Standard form is ax plus by equals c, where it tells you that a, b, and c are integers. Remember, integers are positive and negative whole numbers, and it says that a, or the coefficient of x, has to be greater than 0. So a cannot be negative. Also, in standard form, some things that you have to remember that are very important are there are no fractions, because again, a, b, and c are integers, and your a has to be positive. So you have an equation as an example here that is written in slope-intercept form. Y equals negative 3/4 x plus 5. And we want to write this equation in standard form. Recall, standard form looks like ax plus by equals c. So to rewrite this into standard form, the first thing I need to do is I need to get the x and the y on the same side of the equal sign. So right now, I need to get the negative 3/4 x to the other side. So I want to add 3/4 x to both sides. Now, I cannot add y and 3/4 x because they're not like terms. I would just have 3/4 x plus y is equal to, those two would cancel each other out because positive plus a negative is 0, and it's equal to 5. Okay, so now we have both sides set equal. And both sides, you have your x and your y on one side, and your standard, and your constant term, the 5, on the other. The last thing says that you need to have no fractions. So you need to start to get rid of the fraction by multiplying through by the denominator. So I'm going to multiply both sides of this equation by my denominator of my fraction, which is going to be 4. So I have 4 times 3/4. Remember, with a fraction, you multiply straight across. So it would be technically 4 over 1 times 3 over 4. 4 times 3 is 12 over 4 times 1, which is 4. And 12 divided by 4 is 3. So I would have 3x plus 4y equals 20. And this would be my equation that is the same as the above, but written in standard form. You might also see it where you have a point and a slope, which should already ring a bell in your head that you will be writing that equation to start with in point-slope form, because that's what you have, and you need to turn around that equation to put it in standard form. So if we're writing this in point-slope form, remember point-slope looks like y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So if I'm putting those values in, we know my slope is m, and then I have x1, y1. So if I'm substituting in, I would have y minus 7 equals 2 times x minus 3. Just like before, I have to simplify before I can do anything. So there's nothing I can simplify on the left, it's just y minus 7. But on the right, I can do the distributive property. I can distribute the 2 to the x and the 2 to the 3. So 2 times x is 2x minus, because that's inside the parentheses, and then 2 times 3, which gives you 6. Just like the last example, in order to have something in standard form, the x and the y have to be on the same side. So I want to go ahead and think about what side I want my x and the y to be on. What you have to recall is that the x, the value for a, the coefficient of x, has to be greater than 0, which means it has to be positive. So I can do one of two things. I can move the y over, or I can move the x over. Right now, the x is already positive, so I would start by moving the y over. So I would subtract the y from both sides. y minus y cancels out. I'm left with 7. And then on this side, none of this is like terms, so I would have 2x minus y minus 6. I have to then isolate my x and my y because I want those on one side and all of my constant terms on the other. So to move over the other constant term, which is the minus 6, I would have to add 6 to both sides. Negative 7 plus 6 gives me negative 1. I didn't do anything with the 2x or the y, so it stays exactly as it is. And then minus 6 plus 6 cancel each other out because they're opposites. Remember in standard form is ax plus by equals c. So I want to turn it around a little bit so it matches this. So the x comes first, so in our case it's 2x plus by, so minus y is equal to negative 1. So this would be my equation written in standard form.